It's a Hall of Fame summer here in Atlanta. A statue of the great Hank Aaron, who will be joined in Cooperstown later this year by Bobby Cox, Tom Glavine, and Greg Maddux. And we're set for Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. We welcome Cub fans from all over the country watching on WGN America, America's home for baseball. Happy Mother's Day. Cubs baseball here on WGN. Jim DeShays and Len Casper, and the pitching has dominated this series.
Reminiscent of Glavine and Maddux and some of those great Braves pitching teams this week, and the starters for both clubs have been outstanding. Jason Hammel, Jeff Samardzija for the Cubs, Julio Teheran, Irvin Santana for the Braves. You see the numbers. The Braves starters have allowed just 2 runs, but they haven't been able to win a game because the Braves have been so stout themselves. The only earned run they allowed, a Michael solo home run off of Teheran Friday night.
Let's keep the theme going and talk about today's starters. For the Cubs, it'll be Edwin Jackson, who just so happens to live in Atlanta in the offseason.
I gave up 3. You're a slouch the way things have gone here this weekend, and he was really good last time out against the White Sox. Punched out 9, didn't walk anybody, had a nasty slider going in 7 solid innings of work. And Aaron Harang, what a revelation he has been for the Braves. The veteran has been really, really good. Not so much late, but 2 starts ago he gave up 9. Other than that, he's been really good. 3-1 through his first 5.
Getaway day, the Cubs will head to St. Louis to start a 4-game series tomorrow night. But first things first, nice day in Atlanta. Mother's Day. Cubs and Braves are next. Grab some buds. Ford, manufacturers of America's best-selling brand. Check out our best-selling lineup at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Chicago Cubs baseball in beautiful high definition on WGN is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Let's get the Cubs Mazda lineup brought to you by Mazda, the 2014 Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Some of the guys today will be using the pink bats as baseball goes to bat against breast cancer here on Mother's Day. Kalish, Coghlan, Rizzo at the top, Castro, Sherholtz, Castillo in the middle, Alt, Barney, and Jackson at the bottom.
Different look for the Braves defensively this afternoon as the Upton brothers are out of the lineup. That means Ryan Doma gets a start in left field, his third. Jordan Schaefer makes his fourth start in center. Jason Hayward, the Gold Glover, is in right. Chris Johnson, Anderson Simmons, Tyler Pasternicki, and Freddie Freeman around the infield for the Braves. And Evan Gattis is behind the plate for 36-year-old right-hander Aaron Harang. 3-3 with a .298 through 7 starts. Brilliant at the outset for the Braves this year. Through his first 5, he was dominant. Then he got knocked around, gave up 9. Bounced back, pitched pretty well last time out. 11-8, .435, and 27 career starts against the Cubs.
Seth Buckminster will wear the mask today. Machlinsky, Winters, and Fletcher on the bases. And Ryan Kalish is using the pink bat, at least for his first plate appearance, and we're underway. Yeah, Harang, when he was with the Reds, faced the Cubs a ton. Ball fouled out of play.
And for years, it was he and Bronson Arroyo at the top of that Reds rotation. Sturdy inning eaters. Harang, four-seam fastball is up in the strike zone, averaging about 89 miles an hour. There's deception in his delivery.
It's out in the shallow center, and it's going to drop for a base hit. Leadoff single by Kalish, who's now 6 out of his last 14.
So far, Harang's been able to keep the ball in the ballpark. He's allowed 2 home runs in 42 and a third innings. When we look at some of the other numbers, his whip 1.16. Strikeout rate better than league average. Walk rate just a little bit higher. Throughout his career, he's been more of a fly ball type pitcher. Gets a lot of backspin on his four-seamer. It's a lot of lazy fly balls.
Sinker misses low and away on Chris Coughlin, making his third start this week. Wanted to give a shout out to his mom, Heather, on the broadcast. He did call her this morning, and he is wearing the pink shoes in honor of his mom today.
Those are sweet. I'd like to get some of those, just some street shoes like that.
1 ball, no strikes. Harang turned 36 2 days ago. Actually went to spring training with the Indians, got released, and 2 days later in late March signed with the Braves. 2-0.
He's been, excuse me, with like 6 different organizations over the last year or so. Pitched in the big leagues with Seattle and the Mets last year. And he was 5-12 with a .540 and 26 starts. So those numbers, coupled with the fact that he was released, a lot of people wondering, well, how much did Aaron Harang have left in the tank? And for Atlanta, he's been really good.
Couldn't hold up.
Flirted with a no-hitter a couple of times already this year.
His season debut in Milwaukee. Took a no-no into the 7th. Gave up 2 hits and a 1-0 victory.
And then pitched 7 no-hit innings at New York. Back on April 18th, he walked 6 men through 121 pitches, so he was removed from the ball game.
Yeah, not often you guys get pulled during a no-hitter, but the pitch count just too high. It was actually the 2nd time in his career in which he did not allow a hit, with 6 innings against the Dodgers with the Padres back in 2011. Kalish runs, line shot, it'll be a double play. Right to the third baseman, Johnson. Kalish already at second base, not his fault. And really not Coughlin's fault either. He hit it hard. Just bad luck.
It's bad luck. He had a little good fortune. Kalish hit that little flare that fell in, and now karma bites the Cubs as the base runner Kalish in motion. Easy prey for the line drive double play.
Buzzard's luck for Chris Coughlin. Now Anthony Rizzo fouls. These guys were teammates briefly in 2011 with the Padres, Orang and Rizzo. Orang is from San Diego. Pitch. It's a strike, and it's 1-2.
Pitched at San Diego State. Originally drafted and signed by the A's.
That's that one off his front foot. Still a ball and 2 strikes. 74 degrees, blue skies, sunshine. Fly ball to center. This is Jordan Schaefer to end the inning. Cubs get the leadoff man on, but cannot score. And the Braves are coming up when we come back. One up on the Miami Marlins as we check out their lineup. Hayward, Pasternicki hitting second today. Freeman, Gaddis, Johnson, who's red hot as of late. Domet came off the bench, had the game-winning hit last night. Simmons at short, the pitcher hitting eighth again, even though Harang not a very strong hitter. And Schaefer, the center fielder, will pull up the rear.
Cubs in the field. Coughlin, Kalish, Shearholtz left, center, right. Old Castro, Barney, Rizzo on the infield. Wellington Castillo is the hind catcher this afternoon, and on the hill for the Cubs is veteran right-hander Edwin Jackson, 2-2, 457 through 7 starts. Allowed just the one long ball. And as we mentioned in the open, really good last time out against the White Sox.
Props to our engineers in the truck, Matt McDonald, Jeremy Redenzik. We had some graphic problems last night. They were very graphic. But they have been remedied. As Edwin Jackson is set to work. And outside on a fastball to Hayward. 1 for 7, 2 walks. on the weekend. He did score the game-winning run in the 10th inning Friday night. Swing and a miss. Believe all the players get 2 of the pink bats for today. And obviously, a lot of them end up with their moms when it's all said and done. I think some of them get auctioned off for charity. 2-1.
I remember there was a game in Milwaukee a few years back when Billy Hall, I believe, hit a game-winning home run or grand slam, maybe.
That's right.
With a pink bat with his mom in the stands. So I wonder, how players are superstitious. So I wonder if a guy's ever had a big day on Mother's Day, get like 3 hits, and he wants to use the pink bat the next day.
I would think he would be allowed. Two the count. Hands over his head as Jackson deals, and he strikes out Hayward.
94 up and out of the zone. Hayward couldn't lay off. Jackson, who struck out 9 last time without a walk, off to a good start this afternoon. Last time it was the slider. He threw about 40% sliders in that game, and it was really, really good. He also threw strike 1 about 70% of the time. That was a big key for him. Got ahead, then had the White Sox flailing at his nasty slide ball.
Ball 1 on Pasternak playing second. We have not seen Dan Uggla appear in this series. 0 for 2 last night for Pasternak. Also got down a successful suicide squeeze in the 7th for their second run. Fouled back. Uggla coming off a bad year last year, struggling again, and is owed still about $24 million, a contract that runs through next season.
Yeah, he's hitting 184 so far this year.
Swing and a miss, 2-2.
241 on base, 272 slugging, and with the rest of the Braves really scuffling. They're not scoring a lot of runs. Their pitching's been really good, but I think with a number of guys struggling, Freddie Gonzalez just feels like he can't buy time for Uggla right now. He's got to try to find a way to generate some offense.
Today without Justin Upton day to day after leaving with the back issue last night. Don't know if he's available to pinch hit.
He's got a bruise. He got hit by a pitch from Jefferson Marshall last night. Thought he'd be in there today. He's got really good numbers against Jackson.
Another 2-2 on the way, and a line shot right to Rizzo.
Take that. Coghlan whacks one to third. Pasternak off the bat, probably feeling pretty good about things, but Anthony Rizzo well positioned. I see that whip, walks plus hits per innings pitch for Jackson, significantly higher than Harang. Speaking of good numbers against Jackson, Freddie Freeman has lit him up 7 out of 11 with a couple of home runs. Samardzija had him chasing that high fastball last night.
The 1-1 delivery misses. It's 2-1.
Get your attention. A relatively small sample, but when it's 7 out of 11 with 2 home runs, it's something you take note of.
3-1 with Gaddis on deck. We will continue to feature music about Atlanta and Georgia and from Georgia-based artists. We had a lot of fun with it last night. Ground ball picked up by Castro behind second, and he has time. How about some TLC to break? Great to have Frank Leone with us running the audio board from our home show, making the trip today. Log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner and connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape, pools, patio sets, play sets, hot tubs, and more. Second inning, Starlin Castro will lead off for the Cubs against big Aaron Harang. .6'7", 260. Is lifted foul, first base side out of play.
Castro 385, excuse me, 5 out of 13 against Harang. Harang, for a big guy, doesn't really utilize his size in terms of a big long stride, a long arm action. He's a little bit of a short strider. He gets on top of the ball, has a short arm delivery. As I mentioned last inning, he has some deception. He'll a lot of swings and misses at what appear to be pretty hittable fastballs.
Slider that time is hit in the air out to Hayward for the out.
During the next homestand, the Cubs will celebrate with music, food, and fun giveaways reminiscent of the 1930s. For more information about the 30s celebration, visit WrigleyField100.com. Brewers and Yankees are in town. It's a 5-game homestand. 3 with the Brewers, 2 with the Yankees. Tickets available at Cubs.com.
I think that's a staged photo. Kind of look like it. Nate Scherholtz, the right fielder. With the pink bat, and he looks at a curve for a strike.
Fastball, slider, curve, cut fastball, changeup from Harang.
That's it?
That's it. Well, and he does throw more two-seamers now than he used to.
Product of San Diego State. Patrick Henry High in San Diego. Had a really good run with the Reds, didn't he?
Yeah, he
logged a lot of innings. Over 230 innings in back-to-back years, 06, 07. Popped foul out of play.
16-game winner each of those two seasons that Len mentioned. Lifetime 113 and 119 with a 425.
He's run it full.
That's that fastball I'm talking about right there. Looks like a cookie right down the middle at 90 miles an hour. There's a lot of backspin on it. Gets on the hitter a little more quickly than he anticipates, and get it fouled back. Popped up quite frequently.
One out walk to Scherholtz. How about some Mother's Day selfies? Let's get some moms involved today. Hashtag WGN Cubs, and we will put them in our fan cam today.
When he came across this young man sawing on a fiddle and playing it hot, and the devil jumped up on a hickory stump and said, boy, let me tell you
Charlie
what.
Daniels. We won't play the whole song because it gets a little dicey later.
There's a G-rated version.
Now Castillo won for his last 23. He tries to get it going in here.
The one was a little broken bat flare.
1 on 1 out in the second. Cubs base coaches getting into the spirit here on Mother's Day with the long sleeve pink undershirts. Eric Hinsky and Gary Jones. 0-2, and he got him. First strikeout for Harang.
So Jonesy's rocking the pink shoes down there at third base too. A lot of action, late breaking movement on the slider off the outside corner to get Castillo. Good depth.
Scherholtz runs, pitch to Alt is a strike. The throw is in time. Let's see if Ricky comes out. He will not. No argument from Scherholtz, in the inning I think is over. Yes.
Nate Sherrill's caught stealing to end the top half of the inning. Ricky Renteria waited a while and gave his guys some time to take a look. Came out and chatted with the second base umpire, decided not to challenge.
Too close to call and probably would not have been overturned.
Good, hard, aggressive slide as Sherrill's tried to beat that throw. And I think if they called him safe, you wouldn't get a challenge from the other side either. Just too fuzzy, too tough to tell.
So Jackson facing Evan Gattis to start the Braves second. Great profile last year by Mark Bowman. Covers the Braves for MLB.com. After Gattis graduated from high school in 2004, signed a letter of intent with Texas A&M, didn't pan out. Part due to an anticipated failed drug test, led to a rehab stint. Depression and anger issues dating back to his parents' divorce when he was 8. And not substance abuse. A ton of anxiety. I mean, all kinds of issues. Eventually went to Seminole Junior College in Oklahoma, where a right knee injury led to further depression, and he thought he was done with baseball forever. And during a 4-year interim period, he was a cook, a valet, a ski lift operator, a janitor, a golf cart attendant. Just kind of trying to find himself, and then spoke to his stepbrother who was playing baseball at the University of Texas at Permian Basin. He got the itch again, was good enough to go in the 23rd round, and here he is, starting catcher of the Atlanta Braves.
Easy guy to root for, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's been through all that.
Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. That book had a big influence on him. I've read it twice, and I would definitely recommend it. Have you read that book?
I have not.
Well, it's all about the present. The past and the future do not exist. The only thing that exists is this moment.
It's a great lesson for a ball player.
Yeah.
Yesterday is dead and gone. Tomorrow's out of sight. Help me make it through the night. That's the great Chris Christopherson.
Still 2-2.
We used to talk about, anytime you saw Tony La Russa on game day. How you doing? I'll let you know at 10:30 tonight. Yesterday doesn't matter. I'm not too concerned with tomorrow. It's all about today.
Full count, 3-2. With the red hot Chris Johnson on deck. He's got 5 hits in this series.
Edwin has only made 1 start in this ballpark. Came a couple of years ago. Overall, he's 0-2 with a .386 against Atlanta in 5 big league starts.
Hey, Cub fans, make sure you check out Len and JD's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 36 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. Johnson hitting .382 to start the month of May. Ball 1. Rizzo holds Gattis over at first. (2-0).
Friday night, Chris Johnson was able to exploit that hole on the left side of the infield a couple of times between third and short. Here's what he's done over the last 3, 6 out of 11. Castro playing for a double play. Shaded towards the bag a little bit. Attempted to pull Chris Holt off the line, try to take away that hole some. or Michael rather. Both pitchers pretty deliberate, especially with men on base. CJ not really happy with himself there.
No. Edwin has certainly helped his cause by keeping it in the ballpark. Another base hit for Chris Johnson. This stretch has pretty much exclusively featured singles, but he's getting on.
Yeah, ultimately you'd like to get a little more power out of the third base position, but hard to quibble with a guy who's been as hot as Johnson has been lately. Dumps that one in front of Kalish. Braves look to draw first blood here. One of last night's heroes, Ryan Doman.
He powdered one to deep left, opposite field, off the wall to knock in the eventual game-winning run. Ball one. Catcher, corner infielder, corner outfielder playing left today for Justin Upton. So I created a ton of confusion on Twitter last night with a very accurate tweet. First the 1-0, swing and a miss. As we were packing up our gear after the game, the official score here, and it just, misspoke, announcing the game totals. Said winning pitcher Irvin Santana 4-0, losing pitcher Jeff Samardzija 0-4. Well, we know Brian Schlitter took the loss. He gave up the runs. So I tweeted, kind of the ultimate irony is that Samardzija gives up 0 runs and they announce that he takes the loss.
Yeah,
So Twitter blowing up. You're an idiot. Samardzija can't lose the game. What are you talking about? That's insane. It just kind of made me chuckle. He can't even win. In fact, at least for a brief moment, loses when he gives up no runs. Jackson in some trouble here. 2 on, nobody out, and a 3-1 count on Doman.
So note we saw Jeff, first pitcher, only pitcher in the modern era, start the season with 8 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in each of those starts, and not have a win. Told him, well, you're not getting wins, but you're making history.
And a base hit to right. And the Braves have the early lead. Gaddis scores. Johnson to third. Ryan Doman, second go-ahead RBI in 2 days.
Doman's always been able to hit the fastball, and that one's belt high. Out over the plate. Switch hitter, better from the left side of the plate, and the Braves do indeed draw first blood after the leadoff walk. A couple of knocks.
But the only thing that helps Edwin in this spot is that the pitcher hitting 8th in their lineup is now on deck. That's Harang, and he doesn't do much hitting, but Edwin needs to get an out. That's why the Simmons at bat here is a key one, as Jackson tries to limit the damage.
One out of 5 with a home run for Simmons off of Edwin Jackson. He's got pretty good pop. There's that slider. That was the pitch last time out. White Sox could not lay off of it, and they couldn't do much with it. Starts in the zone and then breaks down to the outside corner below the knees.
Driven to deep left. Coughlin back, and it's at the base of the wall. Johnson scores. Domet to third on a double by Simmons.
"17 home runs, 27 doubles for Simmons last year. And whereas Edwin was very consistent with the slider in that last start, you see the really good one followed up by a hanger up in the eyes.
You know, it's funny, as Harang bats with second and third, nobody out, Freddie Gonzalez is probably hoping Harang will do what he does a lot, strike out.
Well, the infield's pulled in. Well, nobody out, so Domet's not going to be going on contact here.
So unless he hits a ball into the outfield, Jackson's okay. And he does hit it, but not deep. And everybody has to hold.
Party of the Century continues next homestand with a celebration of the 30s. Friday, May 16th, 1:20 game. Cubs take on the Brewers. And if you're one of the first 10,000 fans at the ballpark, you're going to take home a Babe Ruth called the shot bobblehead. This is the third of 10 special Wrigley Field bobblehead giveaways. Make sure to attend every Friday to complete your set. Tickets are still available, including in the Budweiser bleachers. Get your tickets at Cubs.com.
Jordan Schaefer batting ninth. And the Cubs guarding against a possible squeeze here.
Braves pulled one off last night. I think with the swings they're getting against Edwin Jackson, they're probably going to let Schaefer swing away here this early in the ball game.
Nice touch in Milwaukee today. I guess Derek Jeter's first at bat. They used Bob Shepard's call, as they do at Yankee Stadium. Jeter's final game in Milwaukee. Hasn't played a lot of games there.
Derek Jeter. Number 2. Jeter.
There's a bunt. That was not a suicide squeeze. In fact, Domet looked a little surprised at third. I think Schaefer did that on his own.
Yeah, well, he's trying to drag bunt. Domet's like, hey, man, don't make me read that. Just base hit to the outfield. Let me jog home. Well, you'd love to keep this out of play if you could, if you're Edwin. Try to bury that slider down and in.
Ground ball picked by Rizzo. He's going to step on the bag, and now they've got Simmons caught between second and third. Domet between third and home. Tag applied. Nicely done by the Cubs there. Braves, however, get 2 and lead it 2-0. This rundown perfectly. The Xfinity speed replay. Good job by Rizzo. He took a look, noticed Domet was headed back to the bag. This could have been disastrous, but it
I think
worked out really well.
If Domet takes off for third base when Castro makes a throw home, it might have been a closer play at third base, but he opted to stay in the rundown. And I'm not sure exactly what broke down there for the Braves. If Domet was supposed to be going on contact, then you just got to keep on going to home. It may have been that was the play, but he read the sharply hit ground ball, decided to stop. Simmons was going on contact clearly. Failed to take the cue from Domet. Anyway, Cubs get out of a dicey situation, allowing 2, and it could have been worse.
1-1 on Mike Alt. 2-0 Braves. As he pops to Hayward. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports, bringing you our speed replay.
Cubs have lost 2 runners on the bases today. A line drive double play in the first as Ryan Kalish was going with the pitch. That's just bad luck. And then Nate Scherholz caught stealing in the second. You can understand why Ricky Renteria would try to push things a little bit with the running game today. His club has struggled to score runs.
Fouled out of play. Barney getting his 17th start. This is the Cubs' 36th game of the year. Cubs originally were to face left-hander Alex Wood, who got the win in relief on Friday. He was put in the bullpen, at least temporarily, as they have a surplus of starters, which is amazing to think about considering the injuries they had in spring training. Simmons will not be able to make the play. Infield hit for Barney. If anybody can make that play, it's Andrelton Simmons. But it was hit just a little bit too hard for him to get a handle on it.
He made a brilliant play with the bare hand last night. His ability to make that barehanded play off balance and get so much on the throw that keyed last night's play. This time, no chance to make a throw because he couldn't secure the ball. So it's a one-out infield hit for Barney.
And a bouncer into left by Jackson. Back-to-back hits.
I like that play with one out. Kind of struggling offense. Why give up an out? Shows bunt, pulls it back, and gets on top of the high fastball from Harang. So Simmons had started to cheat towards the bag a little bit, and that opened up that hole.
Dirt on a curveball.
Harang came into play this afternoon with an ERA of 2.98. He'd allowed 14 earned runs, 9 of those coming in one start at Miami 2 starts ago. So you throw that one out and that ERA would be microscopic. It's 0.85 after 5 starts. Johnson maybe said it best. He said, guys come here, they put that A on their hat, and they just start dealing. Rich tradition of outstanding starting pitching here in Atlanta.
Taylor strikes out, number 2. For Harang, and let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. There's Coughlin.
The baseball gods owe him one. And a rocket last time for an out.
Curve over for a strike. Coming into today, the Braves starters with a 2.54 collective ERA, best in all of baseball. That is a big reason why they're 20-15 and in first place in their division.
Dead last in the National League in runs scored.
Yeah,
a little better than the Padres in runs per game.
If we went back to like January and told Freddie Gonzalez that, he'd say, yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure Medlin and Beachy have been pretty good. No. Aaron Harang, Irvin Santana. Who? They're on my staff? I remember when those injuries happened, JD, early in spring training, we were saying, man, boy, the Braves, they're in real trouble.
Yep. And we thought, well, maybe they'll hit enough where it won't be that big of a problem. And just the opposite has happened. They've filled in admirably, and the hitters have scuffled. So I guess if you were to give a Executive of the Month award, you'd have to give it to Frank Wren, wouldn't you? These signings, these pitchers he's added.
3-1 on Coghlan with Rizzo on deck. There's Frank Wren.
Took some heat when he signed Santana because it cost him a draft pick. But they're in win now mode.
It's a strike. Coghlan ready to head to first. Should also note, Harang does give up home runs. Talked about that pitch right there. He's allowed in his career 259 home runs. 3-2 of the runners going, and he just snuck one past Coghlan to end the inning.
Bottom of the third, Wrigleyville Rooftops has premier seating for up to 200. Corporate gatherings, family reunions, bachelor or bachelorette parties, always a good plan. Individual and group tickets are available for all games. For more details, go to WrigleyvilleRooftops.com or call 773-248-ROOF. They got a Waffle House here in the ballpark.
I have not eaten at the Waffle House.
I remember
all about it.
Going to the Waffle House in the Florida State League in A-ball once in a great while.
Yeah, Ron Coomer said when he was in the Southern League for a couple of years, that was a staple.
Yeah. You got to stretch that minor league meal money.
So I would imagine waffles would be the first place to start.
Yeah, I guess. Waffles, chicken and waffles.
I'd probably go with the classic waffle.
I would go with the waffle sampler.
Foul tip by Hayward. It's 1-2.
And while we're in Atlanta, speaking of Atlanta.
Yes. We're only here today.
Yeah, I know.
So get it in now.
I want to get this off my chest, Atlanta. enough of the Peachtree. Okay, one Peachtree Street would be good. Could live with two, but you got like 30 of them. Everywhere you go, it's Peachtree Street, Avenue, Boulevard.
I thought it was the
road.
same street. It's not.
There's like 100 of them.
Yeah, it did seem like we were on Peachtree a lot
everywhere,
on our way to the ballpark.
Go down to Peachtree, make a right on Peachtree, and then when you cross Peachtree, right next to the Baptist Church, that's where you need to be.
2-2 on the way. It's high, and it's full.
Got Hayward to chase a fastball off the plate and up a little bit last time. They're trying to go in with one here.
On the ground to Rizzo. Jackson covering.
Speaking of peach, Ty Cobb, the Georgia peach. I don't mean to disparage the city of Atlanta. Fine city. Just that one little correction would be good.
Francis Margolin tweeting, no, get the hash browns at the Waffle House. Okay. Duly noted. I'm a breakfast guy, so that would work for me. On a hop, what a pick by Darwin Barney to get Pasternicki.
Gold glovers out there today. Simmons and Hayward for the Braves, and of course Darwin Barney. How about that?
Two down. It's Freddie Freeman, ball one.
Pasternicki's hit it on the screws twice this afternoon. He's 0 for 2.
Slider missed high. A rough first inning for Matt Garza today. 40 pitches, gave up 3 runs to the Yankees. And they go to the bottom of the first in that one. On the ground, a little easier play for Barney this time, and a 1-2-3 for Edwin Jackson. We go to the fourth. It's the Braves 2 and the Cubs nothing. This actually happened at Dodger Stadium when Rick Monday was a Cub, rescuing the American flag from a couple of protesters. That was April the 25th. And then on May 4th at Wrigley Field, Monday honored with that American flag. This Wrigley 100 moment brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Anthony Rizzo starting the Cubs' fourth, ball one from Aaron Harang.
Well, Rick's going to watch a pretty good pitching matchup later on this afternoon. Giants at Dodgers, Hudson and Kershaw.
So Carlos Marmol's short tenure with the Miami Marlins has come to an end. Struggled last night. And will be designated for assignment today. Strike called, 2-2. The Marlins 17-5 at home and 3-12 on the road. They just started a long 11-game trip. Close but missed. 3-2.
Away, and then try to sneak one over the inside corner.
A leadoff walk.
Cubs baseball is brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds.
Spot is 457 feet from home plate, in case you're wondering. I believe I see that spot at center field.
See, yeah.
Actually, I see a few of those signs.
Oh yeah,
now that I look.
Yeah. I think that one is over there by the "This is Braves Country" sign in right center.
Okay.
That one's right next to the cameraman. There it is. That's easy enough.
One. Slider. 1-2.
Sometimes you can get your cues as to how a player is going to be pitched by looking at the outfielders. Jordan Schaefer is shading towards right center field. I think they're going to try to stay away from Castro, who has been pulling the ball with more authority this year than last. See the alignment. A lot more room to work with in left center than right center for Castro.
Yanked into left. It'll get down. Dolman plays a deep left field as he surrounds it, and it'll be a double for Castro. Second and third, nobody out.
They got to take advantage of this opportunity now. Last night the Cubs had a couple chances early, didn't cash it in. They're trying to go away from him, but that slider stayed on the plate, and Starlin able to go out and hook it to left field. And with Schaefer moving towards right center, Doman had come off the line. Everybody gets at least one in this situation most of the time.
Nate Scherholz, ball one.
Tampa the other day. Oxberger, Clutterbuck, one of their relievers. Came in with the bases loaded, nobody out, struck out the side on 9 pitches. Struck out 3 on 9 pitches with the bases loaded.
2-0.
Boxberger, Brad Boxberger.
Did you drop a Dewey Oxberger on me? Friends call me Ox. There's a drive deep to right. Hayward back, it's off the wall. Rizzo scores. Castro's going to be sent. Throw to the plate is late. And it's 2-2. Scherholtz with a double. He almost hit his first home run of the year, but that'll work.
And we are even. Big swing of the bat by Nate Scherholtz. We talked about haranguing that invisible, the fastball up, that he gets a lot of swings and misses, but this one's down. Rizzo scores easily. Castro comes in just ahead of the throw on the relay. Two good throws from Hayward and then Simmons, I believe.
Still nobody out. Fouled off by Castillo. Walk, double. Well, off the bat, I thought that was out for Scherholtz, and I know he was hoping as well. Castillo continues to scuffle. It's the first out in the fourth inning. Come out and celebrate the party of the century every Sunday is Kids Sunday at Wrigley Field. Next Sunday, May 18th at 1:20, the Cubs host the Brewers. The first 5,000 kids, 13 and under, get a Cubs Viewmaster. It's the third of 10 Cubs retro toy giveaways. After the game, first 1,000 kids, 13 and younger, can run the bases. Go to Cubs.com for tickets. Rang with a 1-1 to Alt. Fouled back. Here it comes, and he got it.
Cubs injury report is sponsored by Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. You see some numbers. 110 games missed by 6 players currently on the DL. Fujikawa, McDonald, Ruggiano, Sweeney, Strope, and Veras. Illinois Bone and Joint Institute, helping you move better so you could live better. Visit ibji.com.
That ball drilled down the line. It is hooking, and it is foul into the Cubs pin. One loud foul strike on Darwin Barney.
Darwin started the first game in Chicago in the White Sox series over at the Cell. It's his only start prior to today on this road trip. An infield knock, a spectacular play at second. To add a little RBI knock to his resume here.
2 strikes on Barney. Here's a pitch. Blocked by Gaddis. I want you to think about this name, okay? Richard Wayne Penniman.
P-E-N-N-Y-M-A-N.
okay?
Okay.
Just keep that name in mind. That's all I'm going to say.
Look at the 2. Something good's going to happen here for somebody.
Okay, what was the name?
Richard Wayne Penniman.
Cue the music. That's Little Richard from Macon.
She knows just what to do. I got a girl named Sue.
Lewis for 4 games, 3 night games coming up, including Tuesday night. WGN Sports on the U at 7 o'clock Central. Ford. Go further in any one of Ford's many fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out America's freshest lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. 2-2 on Nate Scherholtz's 2-run double to tie the game in the top of this 4th inning. Jackson to Gaddis. Took a leadoff walk in the 2nd. He hits a high fly ball to deep left to give the Braves their 2nd lead. A long home run by Gaddis. It's 3-2.
Well, sometimes that walk pays off in more than one way. Last time Gaddis walked, came around to score the first run of the game. This time Jackson more aggressive, challenges with a fastball, and Gaddis, who usually goes up there looking to hack, jumps on that first pitch. A walk he drew in the 2nd, I believe only his 4th walk all year. So that was more surprising than this, as he gets a fastball moving in. And when he hit it, I wasn't sure, but he clearly was. You could tell by his reaction, he knew he got it. Sandlot slugger goes deep for the 8th time.
Just like that, the Braves lead once again.
Just the 2nd home run allowed by Edwin Jackson this year.
Johnson misses the slider. 1-1. Too many cheap home runs hit in this ballpark. You got to get it to get it out, and he did over the 380 marker. It's not the launching pad, is it? The old place.
No, that was much more home run friendly. The ball carries well here, but this is a big park. 380 to left center, 390 out there at right center power alley.
There's Johnson screaming at himself after grounding out to short. Domet, RBI single in the second. CC Sabathia goes to the disabled list with a right knee injury. Gave up 3 home runs, got a no decision against the Brewers last night. .28 earned run average for Sabathia. 1-2. Struck him out.
Second one of the day for Edwin Jackson. He got Hayward to start the ball game, and he just executed perfectly to Ryan Domet. And hit a fastball off of him last time. He went backdoor slider for strike 1, changeup, swing and miss, strike 2. A show me fastball upstairs, then back with the breaker down to finish him off. That's as good as he's been here this afternoon. Really well executed by Edwin.
So the new advanced defensive metrics still kind of getting to where I think a lot of people would like them to be. Simmons kind of passes all the tests, though, the eye test, and usually comes up very well in these advanced metrics as well as he grounds out. Gaddis with the home run, and the Braves lead again. It's 3-2 after 4. Cubs had tied things with 2 in the top of the inning. It'll be Jackson, Kalish, and Coghlan due here in the 5th. If you look ahead to the Cardinals series, St. Louis entering the day under 500 at 18 and 19. As they'll play in Pittsburgh tonight. Shelby Miller and Charlie Morton on the mound this evening.
The Brewers, the only team in the Central Division above 500. Pirates started to play better, though. They've won 4 in a row.
Rang's 0-1, and Jackson pops it foul back to the seats off of third. I want to finish up the Andrelton Simmons note. He got a Gold Glove last year at short. Also won the Rawlings Platinum Glove Award, National League's best defensive player regardless of position. Jackson thumps this one, but this time it's an out. 2 good swings today. He's 1 for 2.
Been a lot of hard contact for both sides.
How about this? And you know, wins above replacement still stats some people aren't quite sure about, but Simmons last year compiled 5.4 defensive wins above replacement, which is the highest total for a single season in Major League history.
Yeah, he's one of those guys you kind of wish he was in the division. You could see him play more often.
Honestly, as good as he is at that premium position defensively, you just hope his offense isn't a negative. Even if it's just average,
right, yeah.
You get a ton of value. And you can't say that about all the positions. You can have the best left fielder ever, but you don't have the impact that a shortstop does.
Yeah, there's certain positions on the field you have to have run production from. There are other positions where you're willing to bite the bullet and just say, hey, just go make all the plays, save us some runs, give us what you got within reason. A lot of it just depends on how your roster is made up too. If you've got, plenty of firepower in your lineup, you can live with a guy who's not a good offensive player. He is, though, as I mentioned. He had a nice year with the bat last year. It's kind of the predicament that Darwin Barney finds himself in here. If the Cubs had a lot of really good offensive players and scored plenty of runs, then Darwin Barney would see a lot more playing time at second base, because he is a premier defender. But Ricky Renteria's got to find a way to score runs. Do you think Darwin and some of these bench guys would say to Ricky, don't lose? No, I'm not going to say it. No way would I say that.
So 2 years ago, when Barney won the Gold Glove, he was worth about 3.5 defensive wins above replacement, called strike 3 to get Kalish, and he was a plus 1.3 offensively. Last year, he was a plus defender and a minus offensive player, and it kind of came out in the wash. It ended up being replacement level when you added it all up. So he would like to do more offensively, certainly. But there is no question of his defensive value to a ball club.
Right, so he's kind of at a crossroads, and he's in a tough spot now because the only way to prove yourself offensively is to get more regular playing time. But as Jimmy Williams used to say, I don't make out the lineup card, the players do by their performance. So if he were to start to hit a little bit more, he'd probably see his name in there more often. He could reestablish his value
Follow the Cubs with MLB.com at bat for your iPhone, iPad, Android, BlackBerry 10, or Windows Phone 8. Get scores, stats, highlights, live audio, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or go to Cubs.com for details. Look out, the bat goes flying, and fortunately, they've got an extension on the screen protecting the fans in the first couple of rows. Two and two. Foul tip, strike three. Harang has 8 strikeouts today and has a 3-2 lead.
Braves 3, Cubs 2. Nate Scherholtz with a big 2-run double in the fourth. Evan Gattis, solo home run in the bottom half of the inning to reclaim the lead for Atlanta. Start something special with great leases and low financing on a new Honda. Visit shophonda.com or visit your local Honda dealer. Sing it, Otis.
Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I left my home in Georgia.
Born in Dawson, Georgia, the great Otis Redding. Well, our fine producer Mark Brady went to AWOL for about an inning. We're all trying to figure out where in the world did he go. He went to the Waffle House.
I guess we're obligated to eat waffles now.
Yes. Rang fouls off. Braves leading 3-2. Here we go.
Got some nice butter here. And some...
Hi, Mark. Ooh, we got some hash browns, too. Okay. Tap back to pitcher. What is this? And then this chili dish. Want to try that? Put it on your waffle.
No, I do not. Is there a waffle under there?
No way.
Oh, it's hash browns smothered in
okay.
beans and chili and jalapenos. This is exactly what we need before getting on an airplane. Just kind of light up the world.
Now Schaefer with 1 out. Ground to Rizzo.
Fine defensive work by the right side of that Cub infield this afternoon. It did not appear to be a real tricky play, but a ball like that sometimes will jump up on you at the last. Rizzo stayed down. And a real nice play earlier to start that double play, and Barney's made a spectacular play out there this afternoon.
Two quick outs. Here's Hayward. In the dirt that time. 2 balls, no strikes. Jason 1 for 9 in the series. Missed badly. 3-0.
Hayward not hitting for much average. He will take his walks. Might be swinging here on 3-0 with 2 outs in the inning. Nope. That looked like a good pitch.
He has now walked 3 times in the series.
Where's this one? First 3, obviously out of the zone. That was good enough. Hayward with 6 steals. He's been caught once.
Big steal on Friday night. Led to the game-winning run. So our producer brings us the hash browns to show on TV, and then he takes them.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
This chili hash brown thing is
pretty good.
Really good.
Okay. Good stuff. Not a huge lead at first. Slider strike to Pastornicky.
A hard 0 for 2 for Pastornicky today. Lined out to Rizzo, and then he's the one to hit that sharp, short one hopper to Barney.
Jackson ready. Angels beating the Blue Jays Friday and Saturday and leading 7-1 in the 7th inning today. They'll wrap up that series tomorrow night up at Rogers Center. Hank Conger has homered for the Angels. Detroit leading in the 7th over the Twins 3-1. Rubber game of that set. Robbie Ray went 6 scoreless for the Tigers. Jackson's 1-1. Hit in the air, right center. It's Sherholtz. Cut off the gap, make the catch, and the inning is over. Braves strand one and lead 3-2 after 5.
Watching the ships roll in.
MasterCard have partnered to offer a limited number of MasterCard Century seats for every game during this 2014 regular season. Fans can use their MasterCard to purchase upper deck box seats for $19.14. For more information or to make your purchase, Cubs.com/Century Seats.
A little changeup by Harang here to start this at bat to Rizzo, who walked last time up. Ultimately came around to score. See how they operate down there in the truck? They bring you food and then they ask you to read stuff.
Fastball outside, 2-1. You just inhaled something over there. Was that the waffle?
No, the waffle is kind of like a little pizza shape, so you can have just a little. Had a little slice old waffle for dessert after I ate that chili thing.
I like the waffle, I have to say.
Yeah, I like
it's
it.
a spot.
Yeah.
Good take by Rizzo. It's full 3-2. Went after the high pitch. And lines one into right center.
Well, two really good at bats back to back here. Went out of the zone there, but he got on top of that high fastball. So walked last time, worked the count full this time, and did what is very difficult to do, to hit the ball on the line when you swing at a pitch that high. Choking up a little bit. Good short, quick stroke. Another leadoff reach for Rizzo.
Barbaro is up in the Braves pen, right-hander.
Not yet seen him in this series. He was up last night, didn't come into the ball game. Looks like they got 8 innings from their starter Friday, 7 innings last night. Kimbrel has worked 2 days in a row, may or may not be available today for Atlanta.
Houston got 3 in the first inning in Baltimore today. It's now 3-2. Astros in the 5th. Jason Castro with a home run. His 5th.
Baltimore has won 5 in a row. They lead the AL East. Game and a half better than the Yankees entering play today.
Same score at Tampa Bay. Indians 3, Rays 2, bottom 5. Tomlin and Archer, pitchers in that one. Called strike 3 to get Castro. Strikeout number 9 for Harang. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Beautiful day here at Turner Field in Atlanta. The Cubs are trying to avoid the sweep. They trail 3-2. Batting here in the 6th inning. 3rd time this year already Harang has struck out at least 9. Six of his first 7 starts have been quality outings. Looking for another one here today. One and 2. Sherholtz drilled a double off the wall in right in the 4th inning to tie it up.
Harang doing a nice job this afternoon moving the ball in and out, up and down. That's always been his MO. Kind of work all 4 quadrants of the strike zone. The double Nate hit was on a fastball that was over the plate and down. He started him away in this at bat and then tried to throw the cutter in.
Did he strike him out?
Yeah, I think ultimately he did call him out. Now they're calling it foul ball.
Okay.
There's some confusion here.
So the pitch got down to the dirt, I think.
If Buckminster doesn't ultimately, it looked like it was in the dirt. But watch here, ultimately it looks like he calls him out as foul tip.
Well, foul tip would be out. Yeah.
And then
so no argument from the Braves. Still 1 and 2. Long at bat continues. Pitch number 8. Infield pop up. Be caught by Johnson over there at 3rd. 2 outs. It'll bring up Castillo, who has struck out both times. Mentioned Hudson and Kershaw today. Gio Gonzalez, Scott Kazmir, good matchup in Oakland. Nationals and the A's a little later. Right back to Harang. And the inning is over. Leadoff single by Rizzo, but the Cubs come up empty. Trailing Atlanta 3-2.
Harang today, 107 pitches, 6 hits, 6 runs, or 6 hits, excuse me, a couple of runs, couple of walks, 9 punch outs, and a bunch of high fives from his teammates and manager. His day is done, and he's got a 1-run lead.
Braves with only 4 hits, but they have a 1-run lead. Gaddis Johnson against Edwin Jackson.
Well, Freeman, who came into this game with very good numbers against Edwin Jackson, 0 for 2 today. A couple of ground outs.
Ball 1 on Freeman.
Edwin Jackson's biggest problem today is on deck. Evan Gattis, he walked to get the 2-run second started, and then a solo home run in the 4th.
One ball, 1 strike. Get 1 and 2. Freeman, a 2nd-round pick back in 2007. Special day for Freddie Freeman. Thinks about his Mom, who lost her battle with melanoma in 2000. Freddie was just 10. Chased one in the dirt on a slider for strike 3. Third strikeout for Jackson. He has spread them out. One in the first, fourth, and then this one here in the 6th.
Edwin due up third in the top half of the 7th, so in all likelihood this is his last inning of work. And a pretty good day for him. Rocky second and then the solo home run. But if he gets through the 6th unscathed, he can say he gave his club a legitimate chance to win.
Wicked cut. This time he got all of them.
Some bat speed flying through there, isn't there?
Center field. Kalish is going to have room. 2 down. The last hit Jackson gave up was that home run. Fastball misses above the belt. 1-0 on Chris Johnson. Braves hit the road after this one. Off to San Francisco. We might get a peek at some of their day game on Wednesday. Tehran and Bumgarner, a very good matchup. And then they'll have the day off in St. Louis on Thursday as we wrap up the series against the Cardinals. So play St. Louis starting Friday. Johnson with another base hit, his 7th of the series. Pretty locked in.
Yeah, you know, make a mistake to him right now, and he's going to hit it pretty hard. His first hit was just a little soft fly ball, a little soft semi-line drive into center. That ball sharply hit. Normally with a guy like Doman, you would say, well, just stay down and away and you'll be okay. But it was a pitch down and away that he whacked off the left field wall last night.
This could be possible trouble here, and it'll get down as Alt couldn't catch it. Throw to third is late. Blue hit for Doman.
His second hit of the day. You see where Castro is at the beginning of the play. He's playing at strong pull, so he's out towards second base. He's got a long way to go. He has the better angle on it. Almost impossible play for a third baseman directly over his head. At the end of the day, I think Castro would have had the best shot at it, but again, he had such a long way to go. And a short time to get there. The ball wasn't in the air that long.
Said Jackson's spot due up third in the 7th, and Ricky's just telling him, look, your job's to get one more out today. That's all I need from you.
And I wonder if also part of the message wasn't, hey, don't worry about this base runner over there first. Let's just go ahead and focus all of our attention on the guy in the box.
First and third, 2 outs. And the pitch to Simmons is a slider low and wide.
Pitcher spot is next for the Braves. Dan Ugla has come out on deck as James Russell gets ready in the Cubs bullpen.
Very short order. This game will be in the hands of each team's bullpen. Rang 6 innings, 2 runs. Jackson trying to make it 6 innings, 3 runs. One ball, 1 strike. Here it comes. Swing and a miss. 96.
That's one of the day.
Yeah, I think he got the message from his manager. You can empty the tank here.
A lot of times you sacrifice location when you reach back for something extra and trying to go down and away, and it was well up. But at 96, tough to catch up to.
Held.
Braves doing a better job laying off that slider today than the White Sox did in Edwin's last start. However, it's a little bit different day for Edwin too. He hasn't been working from in front as much as he was in that game with the Sox. And he hasn't been quite as consistent with that slider either.
Johnson at third, Domet at first, and a 2-2 to Simmons. Hard hit grounder, gobbled up by Barney. That'll take us into the 7th inning. The Black Crows from nearby Marietta, Georgia, 3-2. Great ballad by the Black Crows. 3-2 Atlanta. The Braves will dip into their bullpen. Edwin Jackson done.
Barbaro for Atlanta. Yeah, I would assume they're going to hit for Edwin here in the 7th. Down a run.
Alt, Barney, and probably a pinch hitter. The numbers for the right-hander Varvaro.
Yeah, pretty impressive numbers. 11 2/3. He struck out 16, allowed only 8 hits. He struck out better than 36% of the batters faced. Well above league average.
Fastballs and curves. He'll throw changeup for lefties. 2-0 the count on Alt. Staten Island, New York. Went to St. John's. Kick the 2-0 pitch. Ground ball. Simmons. One away.
12th round pick in 2005 by the Mariners was Varvaro. Had Tommy John surgery that summer. Successful Tommy John surgery, I might add. You never read where anybody had unsuccessful surgery. And young lefty Ian Thomas.
Ground ball. And it just gets past Simmons. Barney's 2 for 3. Bonifacio had jumped into the on-deck circle, and he'll now be called back for Luis Valbuena.
See if Freddie Gonzalez opts to counter with his left-hander. He's in a position to do so because he now has 3 left-handed options in his bullpen. Avilan and Wood along with Thomas, and yeah, here he comes.
We'll be back. 3-2 Atlanta. Missing Jordan Walden on their roster this weekend. They're going to the disabled list.
Thomas had been up earlier. He's worked 10 times for the big club, 1-1 with a 4.26 ERA. Sent down to the minor leagues. Wanted to polish up his slider a little bit. Interesting guy. He spent 3 years pitching in Winnipeg in the Independent League up there, and then with York, also an Independent League team, before signing as a free agent with the Braves. That was in 2012. Pitched very good for Rome in the Brave system that year. Last year was at Mississippi. That's Double-A. Been good everywhere he's gone, and boom, just like that, he finds himself in the big leagues.
He'll face Valbuena, the pinch hitter. And then Eric Hinsky, former Brave, talk things over. Darwin Barney at first with 1 out here in the 7th.
Well, you know, obviously you make this move to get the left-hander. You have the platoon advantage left on left, and one of the big concerns for a manager in that situation is you don't want a left-handed hitter to pull that ball through the hole on the right side and end up going first to third. Less likely to pull the ball off Thomas than he is off the right-hander.
And a strike called. Thomas hails from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Fastball outside, 1-1. Lewisburg College, Virginia Commonwealth, and then Winnipeg, as you mentioned. Two and one. Freeman holding on Barney. The 2-1 to Valbuena. It's a strike. It's 2-2. Another lefty on deck, Kalish. In fact, you've got 3 in a row after Valbuena. Kalish, Coughlin, Rizzo. Swing and a miss, strike 3. So Gonzalez's decision to bring in the lefty works out for at least this batter. And 2 outs in the inning.
Fastball up in the eyes of Valbuena, normally patient, couldn't lay off that one.
Yeah, with less than 2 strikes, there's probably no way he thinks about that pitch, but you expand when you're down, or at least with 2 strikes.
And guys tend to chase up too. They see that ball out of the hand. It looks pretty good.
Coughlin 0 for 3, lined into a tough double play in the first and then struck out in his next 2 at bats. Outside, ball 1. Aaron Harang was pretty good today. Kalish, rather, sorry. Coughlin on deck. Kalish 1 for 4, 3 strikeouts. 2 strikeouts, rather. And now 2-0. All
of a sudden, a hitter's count. That 1-0 pitch looked awfully good. Kalish, $167 against left-handed pitching so far this year, but only 6 at bats. He's 1 out of 6. What's that? Riding fastball.
Three and 0. Barney singled with 1 out. Goes off Barbaro. Ball 4.
I suspect, yeah, we're going to see Bonifacio now, or is it Junior Lake?
It'll be Lake for Coghlan. Comes Roger McDowell.
This is a scouting report conversation. Here's the book on Lake. Here's how we're going to try to get him out.
Meeting will be broken up by Seth Buckminster, the home plate umpire.
Well, I think their game plan is probably going to be, let's try to get over breaking ball, then maybe change up down and away. If we throw him a fastball, let's go up out of the zone.
We've seen flashes from Junior, as we did in the second half last year. Just trying to find some consistency at this level.
It could really hurt him here if he makes a mistake with that first pitch breaking ball, if indeed that's what he throws.
So here we go. First and second, 2 outs. Swing and a miss.
Not that. Two-seamer. Went right after him with a heater.
Down 1, but a 2-out opportunity here in the 7th. One for 6 with runners in scoring position so far, and now 0-2. This is where Junior's swing zone really expands. And you know the Braves know that. That's David Hale up in their bullpen. He strikes him out to end the threat. We go to the bottom of the 7th, still 3-2 Braves.
Someone reached in and grabbed it. I used to do. How mama used to clean somebody else's house just to buy me a new pair of shoes. I never understood how mama made it through the week when she never ever got a good night's sleep. Oh, she's one of a kind. You've got yours and I've got mine. Oh, hey mama, my heart belongs.
I'll always love my mama. The Intruders, 1973. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy birthday to all you mothers out there.
Hey, also, congrats to the Kirchenbaums, Eric and Meredith, on the birth of Avi Daniel Kirchenbaum. Spending Mother's Day at the hospital, watching the Cubs and rooting them on today. So it's left-hander James Russell, and it'll be a pinch hitter Dan Uggla to start the Braves' seventh.
After Uggla, a couple of left-handed bats due for Atlanta, so James Russell gets the call out of the bullpen for the 14th time. Wins a loss of 386 earned run average for James. Edwin Jackson today, 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, a walk, 3 punch-outs. 2 walks, excuse me. Good start, but he's on the short end of it right now.
Here's Uggla for the first time in this series. Braves scored the first 2 runs in the second. Cubs tied it on an Nate Sherholtz double in the fourth, and then Evan Gattis homered in the bottom of that inning. Nothing since. Uggla had some vision issues last year. Was not on their playoff roster. Qualifier in baseball hit lower than his 179. There's Alex Wood. He was in their rotation until Gavin Floyd came back from the DL, and now in the bullpen. He got the win in relief on Friday. He just got hit by a pitch. Uggla will take first.
Where you want to scream at the guy. Just get out of the way. Uggla doing his job. Takes one for the team, and Braves have a leadoff man aboard. See how they decide to play it here with Schaefer. Pretty good bunter.
Alt way in at third already. And bunted foul.
Yeah, try not to tip his hand. He's not squaring early. At least he didn't on that pitch. Some guys just aren't comfortable when they do that. When they square around early in sacrifice mode, they tend to get locked up.
Rizzo will tag him. Sacrifice for Schaefer. We ran into a young Cub fan, Baker Farnell, after the game last night. He and his family heading back home after taking in game 2. The end of the bat fouled off. 0-2.
Hayward has not done much against left-handed pitching this year. James Russell came in and got him to pop up to second base in the ball game last night. Not hitting for much of an average against anybody, but just 125 against left-handed pitching. With a 359 OPS, and you see at the bottom there, average on base plus slugging 707. For non-pitchers, it's more like 720.
2-2. A successful return for Aroldis Chapman. He got the save today in the Reds' 4-1 win over the Rockies. And he hit 100 quite a bit on his fastball. 3-2. Walked 1, struck out 3 in that 9th inning today. Saved it for Homer Bailey. Full count on Hayward with Pasternicki on deck. Russell ready. And he throws. And a fly ball to deep right. Scherholtz back. He's going to watch it fly out. A 2-run homer for Hayward. That one hurts. It's now a 3-run deficit.
Braves have scored 5 runs off the Cubs bullpen in this series, a series in which the starting pitching has been very good, so a lot of these games decided late, these opportunities. That time Hayward stays in on the breaking ball and crushes it. Maybe benefiting from the confrontation, the at-bat he had off Russell last night. Couldn't hurt.
Skipped to Barney for out number 2. Pasternicki. 0 for 4.
Well, that is huge for the Braves to get that home run from Hayward, because again, Kimbrel might not be available for Freddie Gonzalez today.
Barney again, shuffling a bit to his right. The inning comes to an end. 2-run homer by Hayward. 5-2 Braves.
She's my favorite.
Braves now lead 5-2, trying to beat the Cubs in this ballpark for the 7th consecutive time. Ugla stays in and plays second base. Here's Alex Wood.
Young lefty has been impressive. 3-5 with a .293. We saw him here in relief on Friday. He's made 7 starts and that 1 relief outing, and ultimately you got to believe he'll move back into the rotation. Second round pick of the Braves in 2012. Quick trip through the minor leagues for Wood. He was a big leaguer last year after spending time with Mississippi and Gwinnett, their AA and AAA teams respectively.
Teammate of Justin Grimm's in college at the University of Georgia. Here's the 0-1 pitch. It is a strike on a breaking ball, and quickly 0-2 on Rizzo. Minnesota now with a 4-3 lead over the Tigers in the 9th. They got 3 in the 8th. Outside, a slip by Wood, it looked like. His landing spot. He's got some funk in his delivery. Down the left field line. And, no play for Domet. Doesn't get any easier for the Cubs. Yeah, the Cardinals are a game under, but as Rizzo takes a call third, it's never been easy going to Busch Stadium, and we'll be there for 4 games starting tomorrow night. And unless they come back late here, they're staring at a sweep here in Atlanta.
Paints the outside corner for strike 3 at 91 miles an hour.
When we go home and see the first place Brewers, the Yankees will be in, and then a trip out west starting in San Diego. Oh! 0-1. Knocked down by Simmons, and Castro will have a hit, his second of the day.
Good effort by the Gold Glover, but he could not hang on. Castro doubled in the 4th. Singles in the 8th.
First I wondered if he was injured, but I think it's a bruised ego. He thought he should have caught it.
The guys like Simmons think they should catch everything.
So it's Scherholtz now, and he bounces foul.
So I'm looking at the lines for this guy Wood throughout his career here professionally. At A-ball in 2012, he pitched 52 innings, struck out 52. AA last year, pitched 57 innings, struck out 57. AAA through 5 innings, struck out 5. So everywhere he's gotten exactly 1 strikeout per inning pitched. The Braves last year, 77 2/3, struck out 77, and this year 46 innings, 46 strikeouts.
Goodness. Well, no more strikeouts this inning.
Yeah.
He struck out Rizzo to start it.
You can't. Doesn't really mean anything. Just as easy to say he's averaging a strikeout per inning, but I mean, there's been no fluctuation.
It's the sign from Gaddis. Here's the pitch. Alex, you're going against the narrative here.
He gives you a lot to look at as a left-handed hitter. The way he throws his glove up overhead, you know, and that funky delivery. Again, his future, I believe, is as a starting pitcher, but he has a lot of value for Freddie Gonzalez now because that lefty with that funky delivery, you know, you might have a better shot if you see him the second, third time around, but one look at him, that's tough. How about that?
That ball got under the glove of Simmons. Tried to backhand it. The tying run will come to the plate, and it's a home run threat in Mike Holt. Ooh, that ball actually bounced over the glove. Didn't notice that.
A play Simmons felt like he should have made on Castro, or certainly could have made, and now a play here on Castillo that he probably should have made. Sharply hit. But a big chance here for Mike Holt.
They have given charged Simmons with an error. Well, this inning for Simmons would be the equivalent of an 0 for 4 for most hitters with 4 strikeouts. He's not happy with himself.
He wasn't ready to play right there. I was watching him before the pitch. He had his hands on his hips and kind of kicking the dirt. He kind of was late getting into ready position.
Big swing here, could tie it. Oh, 0-2 on Holt. Barney on deck. 1-2. We're in the 8th. Bounced over the mound. Going to go right to the bag, and Uggla able to basically chest block it and then step on the base to force Castillo. 5-2 Atlanta. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Ford, manufacturers of America's best-selling brand. Check out our best-selling lineup at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Great to have you with us on Mother's Day 2014. Here's right-hander Neil Ramirez.
Young right-hander has been really good. 9 strikeouts and 1 walk in 4 2/3 innings. Seen him flash a mid-90s fastball, slider, and a sharp curve.
You know, we've been celebrating the 100th birthday of Wrigley Field all season, and will continue to do so. Today is the 100th birthday of Mother's Day, and it's an official U.S. holiday.
Really?
Yeah. Started in 1914. Although I don't know if Mother's Day fell on this exact date, May 11th, 1914, but that year was first officially recognized. Second Sunday in May.
And it was just like 5 years later that some kid said, "When's Kids Day?" And Mom said, "It's every day is Kids Day." That conversation's happened in every household in America. I heard some squealing when Neil Ramirez came into this game. He's from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Sounds like he's got some friends and family on hand.
Comes his 1-0 to Gaddis. Feel that breeze up here in the press box. Ooh, 1-1.
Yeah, he generates some club head speed. He's had 3 very good at bats today. Walk, home run, a deep drive to center last time. Tardy there at 95, and clearly Freddie Gonzalez staying away from Kimbrel here today. He's worked twice in a row. He has not worked 3 consecutive days at all this year. I think if Kimbrel were available, he would not have let Wood stay in the game to face Olt. So he's going to work David Carpenter in the 9th.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
That's again why that home run by Hayward's so important. Carpenter, not normally their closer, has a 3-run lead to protect at least, as opposed to a 1-run lead.
Fly ball to right. Sherholt's back now, sets and catches. Bring up Doman, who's done a good job filling in for Justin Upton today. 2 hits and an RBI. It's over in Detroit. The Twins with that comeback 4-3 win over the Tigers. So they take 2 out of 3 in that weekend series. front and pulled it foul. 26,151, the paid crowd here in Atlanta. It's a day we've had by far this weekend. Rain delays Friday and Saturday. No such thing today. As we mentioned on the leadoff man, the Braves planning on moving into a new suburban ballpark in 2017. So they're going to spend basically 2 decades here at Turner Field. Barney backpedaling, and he makes a catch, and we will go to the 9th. He's due to lead off as the Cubs trail by 3. Director Skip Ellison, our associate producer Doug Stanton, Eric Johnson, our studio coordinator back in Chicago, our executive producer Bob Vorwald. Great work by our entire crew here in Atlanta. Looked like the leg kick of one Warren Spahn.
Greatest left-handers of all time. 363 career wins in a 21-year career.
Schaefer to left. B.J. Upton now in center. David Carpenter on the mound.
Warren Spahn won 23 games in his age 42 season. Pitched till he was 44.
Strike to Barney.
Hard throwing righty from West Virginia University.
Barney flies to right. Yeah, if you missed it last night, you shouldn't have.
Well, last night I said he was from the University of West Virginia.
Oh, did we hear it?
I didn't know they made that distinction, but clearly they do.
Yeah. Bonifacio. Pinch hitting.
Carpenter, the scourge of the Big East when he was playing at West Virginia. He was a catcher. Signed as a catcher. Played a couple of years in the Cardinals system behind the plate. Struggled with the bat. They turned him into a reliever. That's not a unique situation. We've seen it a lot, especially with short relievers. Emilio's been in a pretty good free fall here lately.
One and two on him.
Fairly easy save opportunity here for Carpenter with a 3-run lead. For a guy who has not been in this situation very often, you'd like to put a little pressure on him. Put a couple base runners on there and see how he reacts.
2 career saves for Carpenter. 53 in the minor leagues. Here's his 2-2, and he struck him out. The final chance now. 2 outs here in the 9th. That is 14 strikeouts by Braves pitching today. 9 by the starter Harang.
A lot of red K's going on the scorecard in this series. Cubs struck out 12 times yesterday, 11 times on Friday.
Strike to Kalish. Travis Wood, Tyler Lyons tomorrow night in St. Louis in a battle of lefties. Shallow center, and Upton lays out, and he caught it. B.J. Upton just into the game for defense, and he makes the catch. And the ball game is over. And no argument from the Cubs. Let's see. Yeah, he caught it.
He caught it, and he hung on.
And the Braves sweep the series 5-2 the final. We'll be back.